per acre price because row crop is annualizing a 5% return. So, you know, price per acre is based on production yields of farms. You're going to get higher productions, which we're kind of in now. Like, I didn't actually get assigned the are we in a bubble agricultural, but I'll cover it a little bit. We have jumped up in price. Everyone's like, are we in a farmland bubble? And that's because of production yields. We had great weather for the past 3-4 years, which increased the production of the land. So, you know, investing in farmland is just like investing in an office building. I mean, you've got the collateral, you've got rents, and depending on what you can get those tenants to pay, you're going to have higher yields and a higher coupon. So, I don't believe we're in a bubble right now, but everything is relative. You know, low interest rates is going to drive stocks, equities, and farmland prices up. Discussing a little bit more about production. So in December of 2015, David Hula won the National Corn Growers Association annual yield contest by squeezing 532 bushels of corn out of a single acre. So that's a world record in 2015, which is on average 3 more than what a traditional acreage of corn gets right now. So I bring that up because we're talking about production yields. So in the future, there's going to be more and more technology producing higher production yields. So what is that going to do in a bubble scenario? At the same time, we're losing land to urbanization, farmland to urbanization. So, I mean, you can see that here in Florida, at least in Palm Beach County, most of the farmlands are non-existent, even though you have agricultural reserve, they're still, over the years, getting developed. So we are losing those prime areas for production. Crop yields, again, should have this up a little earlier. This is the corn. I know they're a little hard to see, but the yields grow very, very small, okay? Corn being different only because of companies like Monsanto. So Monsanto's a company that has gone out and engineered the seed for corn. Roundup, so you're able to now, you're able to buy their chemical Roundup that you can spray the whole field. It'll kill all the weeds except for the corn because they genetically altered the corn so that it's immune to the Roundup. So they're doing this with other seeds, of course, but they've been doing it with corn the longest. Corn is also, you know, not only used for food for humans, but animals and ethanol.
Is that a major driver, the ethanol? And the mandate?
It's just supply and demand.
Well, but this is yield. So yield has probably more to do with improvements in technology and, you know, fertilization, you know, pest eradication and water than it has to do, because that's not total production. So.
Thank you. So how can I invest in farmland, right? There's 3 main ways, and the third being the newest. So buy directly in the private market. You could go out and buy a farm, right? You could invest in a private partnership, meaning you could go out and get some partners and do the same thing, invest in the farm, and then now we can actually buy shares in a REE. So what the REITs are doing is they're going out, they're buying the land, and they're renting it to the farmer. It lowers the risk to the REIT and the investors because the farmer's actually taking most of the risk. They're the ones buying all the equipment, they're doing the labor, and they're buying the seeds, which is essentially to grow the product. Of the REITs, there's 3 REITs now. Gladstone, 2013, Farmland Partners, 2014, American Farmland, 2015. And you can see they specialize in different crops. Gladstone, both row and permanent crops, and they're geographically spread across the United States. Farmland, mainly row crops in the middle of the country in the breadbasket, although they are expanding. And then we have American Farmland permanent crops, and they're in California and Florida mainly. Those are their big farms. But so the advantages here, in buying a REEP, like I said, they're geographically spread, so one storm is not going to wipe out your investment. They have low correlation to the stock market, and most importantly is that they're now bringing liquidity to an asset class that's never truly had liquidity in farmland. Okay, there was really never a market to buy.
Because, and historically, farmers own their own land. And now you're sort of seeing a business cycle where people are buying the land. Now a farmer could say, hey, I don't want to be just like a warehouse, a logistics company. I don't need to own the box I operate in. I can lease it, so they can sell and lease back their land, for example, or they can grow their business by leasing other land.
So, and then this brings us to pharmtech, because this is kind of the biggest, the most advances that are happening. And again, this pharmtech is going to affect directly the production yield and the cost of the underlying land. So, as crazy as this sounds, I mean, it's already out there. There's drones.
Is that a flying drone?
What's that?
Is that a flying drone?
Yeah, that's a flying drone. So that drone actually has a special spectrometer video camera that detects through different wavelengths how essential green the plants are. Okay, so as it's flying over the croplands, it can determine, hey, look, this segment here is either not getting enough nutrients or enough water. They're not green enough. Okay. That tractor, well, it's not a tractor. That autonomous drone here, that's actually kind of doing the same thing. There's cameras underneath here, but it's also solar powered, linked up. These fields now have Wi-Fi, solar sensors that can determine real-time pH levels, water level, moisture levels, microbes. So microbes is kind of a new technology. These are microbes, living organisms that have a symbiotic relationship with the roots of the plants that help it gain the nutrients. It's unbelievable what they can do with the new techniques. The GPS, of course, tracks everything, but they have this high intensity model. So, like Monsanto with corn has taken the seeds, did their bioengineering so that they need less space to grow side by side, right? So you don't need larger land. You can actually cram more corn into 1 acre.
Yes.
I got two.
Yes.
Okay, so the United States has some of the most fertile grounds in the world historically. They've had the highest productivity in any agricultural producer. Okay, so for example, the U.S. produces 9.7 bushels per hectare. A hectare equates to almost 2.5 acres a hectare. So the U.S. produces 9.7 bushels compared to China at 5.3. Okay, 1% of the farmland in the U.S. is owned by institutional investors. Okay, I want to make this point again. So currently, only 1% is owned by institutional investors, and they make up 10% of the production. Okay, business is happening to our farmlands. Okay, we are, it's overtaking, and it's only going to get better as this technology gets better, because the REITs, the institutions, they're the ones that have the money to invest in the new technology. Just like back in the day, the guy that had the amount of money to buy the tractor versus the ox and was able to double his plowing, seed sowing, and harvesting. So
Okay.
now,
that figure you threw out before, 2.2 billion for total land versus 1.1 for agricultural. Is that what is that? Is that the total land area? I mean, we've got mountains, state parks, bodies of water.
I had the same question that I was going to ask. Is the only way what you told me, the only way that would correlate with what I have is if you were to throw in all of the federally owned lands that then get leased for grazing and pasture land and all that, I can accept. But the information I've had is that farmland's like 20% of the land mass in the country. But you know, again, listen,
I'm looking for that source right now. But that's what I got.
okay. Well, but we can look at it. It sounds inflated, doesn't it, Ben? I mean, at least.
I mean, I just thought 50% of the land, yeah, sounded kind of,
Yeah.
corner.
Okay.
Of course,
But then again, most of the population lives in,
Dense areas.
dense areas, so.
Yeah, but yeah, when you remember we talked about like all this rangeland. If you stop to think about all the sort of water
Yeah.
and mountains and all that desert. Hugh, you had a question for everybody.
He answered it.
USDA,
Oh,
it's sourced.
okay. All right. Well, no, I'm not saying it's not sourced. But again, all right. Listen, the one clarification I would like to make is that you said at the end, we have to draw, and you were very clear, we have to draw the distinction between the farm as a business and the farm as a real estate investment. And you clearly said most of the land in this country, this lion's share, is not institutionally owned. In fact, to this day, most farmers own their own land. And so, yeah, there have been private ventures. There's a big private company called the King Ranch out of Texas. That's actually like the third or fourth largest property owner in the state of Florida as well. And they will flat out go buy out farmers that want to get out of business and then either farm it themselves or lease it to other people. A big chunk of their business is leasing the land to other farmers. But the REITs, for example, and the REITs are new and are relatively small, very small cap REITs, do not operate the farm. So all that technology is being deployed by the farmer, not the REIT.
Yep, so, and with that said, yes and no, actually. So, September, Farmland Partners is merging, they're buying out American Farm. So, between the two companies, they're gonna have only 133,000 acres between the two. I mean, that's how small these are. But they they actively manage 11% of their portfolio.
Yeah, but remember REITs have restrictions on passive income or passive income. And so the lion's share, and it's like 90%, and it seems like they're pushing it, like 90% of their income needs to be passive in order to maintain their REIT status. So yes, there may be a management business, but the bulk of that income stream to maintain the REIT benefit has to be passive, which has to be lease generated. So anyway, one more thing because we have the last presentation. Do we have one last question? You or Kawasi? Did one of you have a question?
I wonder if Gladstone is just buying from the other two.
No, Gladstone was the first one, and it was a terrible buy when it went public because I owned it and I don't own it anymore. But do you know what the dividend yields are on these three companies?
Not all three.
Okay.
FPI for Farmland Partners is, I think, 4.32%.
Yeah, they're not high yielders, but I don't know what they're appreciating. They're small. The problem is they're small businesses right now. Listen, we have one last presentation. So Luis, you can set up now while I introduce you.
Okay.
So you could actually take the form.
He's not coming. What was his presentation about? The other students and the
We have
restaurant.
some land.
You know what he was the presentation?
I ventured
You remember?
with residential.
Big
No, she
multi-family.
multi-family.
Then it was office. Or, yeah, it was office, I think. Okay, listen. Okay, so the last presentation that we have today deals with a topic that, has been evolving and trending and all that. You're limited to, 25, 30 minutes. You've done a lot of extensive research. Well, what's critical ultimately is to understand, I think you've gotten the impression, understand what all this LEED and, certification and all that means. But then, because I'm a financial guy, that in the context of a capital markets class, I ultimately want to come back to what the dollars mean, okay? And so hopefully you can address all of that. But Luis is going to give us a presentation on LEED and environmentally friendly and green development and all that. So with that, let's go.
Okay, so I did my presentation on operating expenses and LEED rent premiums. And these are the contents. I'm going to start talking about the history and the background of LEED and Energy Star. Then we're going to be seeing if LEED rent premiums command lower operating expenses. Then we're going to go over the economic implications of LEED development, and at the end we're going to have the conclusion and the future of green development. So let's start with the history and background of LEED and Energy Star. The Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, which is LEED, was founded in 1999 by the U.S. Green Building Council. It's based on 7 sustainable categories. The first one is the sustainability of the site. The second one, the water efficiencies. Then energy and atmosphere, materials and resources that we use in the building. It's also based on indoor environmental qualities, innovation in design and construction. And every geographic area has a different U.S. LEED green priorities. For example, in Florida, I think they give some incentive if you build solar panels in certain asset classes, especially office buildings. So every category has a minimum requirement of points that needs to be earned. Pretty much there's 4 certifications. The more points you get, the higher the certification. The basic one is the basic one is what was the name? The regular certification. It goes from 40 to 49 points. Then we have the silver that goes from 50 to 59 points. The gold one goes from 60 to 79 points, and then when you hit the 80 points and above, that's a platinum certification. The Energy Star is a little bit different because it only focuses on the assessment of the energy efficiency and the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So while the LEED certification focuses on these 7 sustainable categories, the Energy Star only focuses on how efficient is a building on saving energy costs. Sorry about it, I'm a little nervous right now.
Relax, you're amongst friends.
I gotta relax. I'm not
Take it easy,
public
man.
speaker. So in Energy Star, if a building scores 70% or more than similar buildings nationwide, it gets Energy Star label is awarded to a building, and of course, as it goes higher, they give it a better label because it's saving more energy. Okay, now let's go to those LEED rent premiums command lower operating expenses. To analyze this, we have to take into account the advantages of green buildings and the lease structures and rent premiums. So let's start with the advantages of green buildings. Well, pretty much before going into the advantages of green buildings, almost all the research and studies in LEED and Energy Star are based on office buildings, because that's where because office buildings are where developers spend the.
Well, let's go back very simply.
Yeah.
It's the asset class with the highest operating expenses. And so,
Exactly.
if what you're trying to do is reduce operating costs, it would logically be where you would have the most advantage to gain.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's where it is. So that's why pretty much all the studies and research out there is based on office and mixed-use office buildings.
Okay, but let's go
Yeah.
back for a second. Do we have this, so you're telling us to build an office building, these are probably national numbers, the RS means data, so it's probably, sort of generic. So it used to cost $112, I'm assuming that's X land, and you're saying that by 2018, we're gonna be spending $158 a square foot.
Yeah, that's a
Now,
projection.
do we know what it, is that a LEED certified building?
Yeah, those are LEED certified buildings.
Which level?
They put it all together and they come up with an average on that.
Okay, and
So-
then what is a non-LEED building cost?
A non-LEED building cost, I don't have it here.
Okay, because that's ultimately the question here, right? I'm not trying to make you more nervous, but that's the
Yeah.
ultimate question,
Well,
right?
the construction spending by asset types, it's pretty much telling you that the asset class where construction is going more for LEED is in office buildings. So that's why, I mean, most of the data in research studies, they gather information from office buildings because that's where the majority of the LEED certified buildings are.
Okay. Yeah, but this, all this is showing us is the different cost per square foot for different asset classes. That's what this
Do
shows
you
us.
have a similar
That's
table
the
that just
compare.
shows non-LEED
Non-LEED.
versus LEED, so that you can see the price difference?
Yeah, I don't have that table.
Okay,
here.
that's, yeah, because
But
if
I
you
can-
just
I can
look,
send
you just
you.
look, you're basically saying, I spent $68 a square foot for warehouse and $112 for office. That's what this is showing us. But anyway, keep going, Luis. We didn't mean to sidetrack you.
Okay. Okay, so the advantages of green buildings. So, okay, we know that the operating expenses are in a building, any building, are energy, water, maintenance, and trash. And we also have additional operating expenses that are kind of hard to measure, like management, security, insurance, and others. So, the Energy Star buildings save as much as 30% in energy costs, but that doesn't mean they save more in operating expenses because they only focus on energy savings. And most of the studies indicate that when it comes to water, maintenance, and recycling, they do poorly. In LEED, the opposite happens. I mean, you have seven sustainability categories. Depending on the developer, they can focus more attention on energy, water. I mean, or even the design of the construction. So it really varies. Most of the studies indicate that in LEED certified buildings, there's a reduction in operating expenses. However, because the data is not consistent across all the spectrum, there's no an actual number for that. There's a study of Nelson in 2007 where he came out with 13% in lower operating expenses for LEED compared to conventional buildings. So that's an average. I mean, if you have a regular certification, you may save less than that number, and if you have a platinum certification, you may save even 30%. It really depends. But we know that but we know that one of the advantages is that you save operating expenses. How much? We don't know that for sure. And then we have the intangible benefits of LEED. I mean, there's a lot of efficiencies that happen in the work environment because of the LEED certified buildings. We have studies that show high labor productivity, higher employee retention rates, lower employee absenteeism, and other factors that correlate to the LEED certification, but are obviously hard to measure. Then we have the image and reputation that comes from the developers that reach the maximum certification levels. And then we have the market segmentation. I mean, LEED buildings focus on targeting specific tenants, because not everybody can pay, of course, a rent premium. So these are pretty much the advantages of green buildings. As you can see here, I got this data from the green building, the US Green Building council, as you can see, this is the total LEED savings by savings category. In 2005, I mean, we have just a little bit of savings in all the categories, because I mean, LEED, there wasn't much development in the LEED industry, but as the years goes by, you can see there's more savings per category, but that doesn't indicate that buildings are saving more in operating expenses. It's indicating that there's more construction and more inducement to develop LEED certified buildings, and of course, as more construction, as construction in LEED certified buildings increases, you're going to see more savings across the spectrum. Okay, these are pretty much these tables are from this one here, and here you can see that a LEED certified building, a standard LEED certified building saves less than, of course, a LEED platinum building per square foot. So as you earn more points towards your LEED certification, you can potentially save more money in different operating expenses categories. However, this is not the case, because as you try to reach more points, there's more cost involved.
Okay, but
Yeah.
go back, because let's take a look at the energy savings, because it said energy was the most important one, right?
Yeah, because it's a single
Biggest-
largest and most
yeah,
manageable
Right,
cost
so,
in any building.
so if we let's look at 2016, and according to this, I don't know, since it was in 2015, let's assume that it's a forecast. Let's use 2014, because let's assume that that's a real number.
Okay.
So you're telling me a standard certified LEED building would save 42 cents a square foot
Yeah, dollars per
in
square foot.
energy
Mhm.
over a non-LEED certified building.
Yeah, over a conventional.
And a LEED platinum building would save 68.9 cents over a non-LEED certified building.
Yeah, the column that says green, that can be any energy star buildings or
Right.
different.
No, but I'm saying a
certifications.
LEED platinum certified building would save 68.95 cents per square foot over a non-LEED certified building in energy.
Yeah.
Do we know how much dollars per square foot in energy we spend in an office building typically?
Typically, I don't have that information.
So that we would know what kind of percentage savings that is. We don't know.
Well, if an office building spends in energy 10%,
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. If an office building spends $15 a square foot
yeah,
in operating expenses, how much is energy?
that really depends on the efficiencies of a building. This is just a
Well, but I'm trying to like just put it all together, because the next question I would have,
Yeah.
which goes back to the cost question that I asked, do we know how much more the cost is for each one of these categories?
Yeah, I just don't have it here in these slides.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is just to, so.
But you,
You
I
guys
mean,
can see
what I'm trying, look, I'm not
yeah.
trying to beat you up, but this is a
Yeah, yeah.
very difficult topic, and it's one I'm not very fond of. I mean, let's just say, I didn't say that. This is a topic that I like to challenge, because I think your first slide summarized, there's a lot of intangible and inconclusive evidence,
Yeah.
but everybody wants to do this. And what I want to know is, Ben, to your question, how much does this cost? And what's my return on it? That's
Okay.
all I want to know.
Okay, on the next slide.
Okay, let's go to the next slide then.
then.
Well, let's go to the next slide.
Okay. This for water. Okay. Okay, now that I talk about the advantages of green buildings, now let's talk about these structures and rent premiums. So, the results have shown that LEED certified buildings have lower operating expenses and command rent premium to some extent when space is leased on a net basis. So there's two types of leases in an office building. It can be a gross lease or a net lease. On the majority of the research, they take data from full gross leases and triple net leases, because you can fully assign operating expenses either to the lessor or the lessee, and it's easier to work out the numbers. So, on average, operating expenses are 5% to 10.7% in buildings with net leases. In gross leases, it's a little bit more complicated to determine, and there's no actually an answer whether you can save more money with
But
Yeah.
Luis, hold
Yeah.
on, because this is critical, and this is the other
Yeah,
sort of,
super critical.
this is critical, and this is the trap in all of this.
Okay.
On average, operating expenses are 5 to 7%, I'm assuming less, right? In buildings
Oh,
with
yeah,
net
yeah,
leases.
I forgot that word, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay,
Yeah,
I got that. So on average,
Yeah.
operating expenses are 5 to 7% lower in buildings with net leases. I don't,
Yeah, in lead certified, lower,
okay,
operating expenses are 5 to 10% lower in lead certified buildings,
okay, but number one,
than commercial, yeah.
Number one, the operating cost saving should be irrespective of the lease structure. It should be irrespective of, it doesn't, the energy systems don't care what kind of lease structure you have.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you why that's the reason. So let me try to, okay, so on a net lease, let's say it's a net lease, and it's a premium that you can charge rent lease. So let's say you're paying a base rent of $1,000, okay, and then you have operating expenses of $300. If we assume there's a triple net lease, it's a LEED certified building that saves 10% in operating expenses, then that 10% would be $30 in savings from the operating expenses. So according to research, there's an assumption that the savings in operating expenses should be proportional to the increase in premium, right? So as operating expenses go lower, the rent premium goes higher. So that's a negative relationship between net lease and the rent premium.
Inverse. They're
Inverse, yeah. Or negative, right? You also
Well,
call it
yeah,
negative.
we would typically say inverse.
Oh, okay, inverse relationship. So that's why is most of the studies, tell you that rent premiums command lower operating expenses only when we talk about net leases, because the tenants have an incentive to use the utilities more efficiently, and you know, across, let's say in year 2, year 3, year 4, we analyze this again. This number usually stays here or even go higher, depending on how the tenants use their utilities. But in gross leases.
Okay, don't erase
Yeah.
that, don't erase that yet.
I won't.
Don't erase it,
Yeah.
because I was just trying to just put the commas in the right place or whatever. I think what you're saying is that operating expenses are 5 to 10% less in buildings that are LEED certified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irrespective.
We net leases. I'm going to explain why. I read
Luis,
Yeah.
listen for a second. Listen. I think that what you're trying to say is that operating expenses are 5 to 10% lower in LEED certified buildings, irrespective of the lease structure.
No, it depends. Okay.
Me cago en la
Sorry.
puta, tú.
My
Escúchame,
bad.
escúchame. irrespective of the lease structure. In net leases, those 10% repercuten, they inure to the benefit of the tenant.
Exactly.
Yes.
And they then offset and generate a net lease premium to the landlord.
Okay.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But with gross leases, we can't really track that because it all sort of gets lost, plus there's no incentive for the tenant
Yeah.
to spend.
Yeah, exactly. First, we have no incentives. So if the landlord thinks he's going to be saving 10% operating expenses, and the tenant knows and has no incentive to save money in operating expenses, this number throughout the years can go lower. I mean, savings
Goes down.
can go lower. See?
But isn't that the same, whenever you're in a net lease, isn't the tenant always motivated to spend the least? I mean, is that really just related to lead, or, I mean, I don't know, I think there's a bias in that study. Sorry?
Lead building, but actually accomplish low operating costs.
But then the rents are.
Yeah, what I'm just saying is there's a bias in the research, because the research is on lead buildings, but whatever, keep going.
So that's one of the reasons why.
And is that,
Yeah.
is there a correlation between the savings to the tenant and the lease premium?
Yeah, there's a correlation.
What is that correlation?
The correlation is that the percentage of savings in operating expenses should be the same.
No, should be no. I want to know what it is.
Should be the same in the increase in rent premium.
I know that you're telling me that's what it should be, but
Yeah.
my question
The
to you
assumption
is,
is-
what is it?
The savings?
No, what is the rent premium in relation to the operating expense payments, reductions?
Well, they should be.
No, I know they should be, but what are they? I mean, the article talked to that.
Well, it goes from all the way from 5% to 12%.
Well, I think what the article showed, if memory serves me right, is that the savings to the tenant do not inure to the benefit of the landlord in the way of premiums. That there is a premium, but it doesn't correlate with the savings.
Oh no, yeah, I know. I'm going to talk about that.
Okay, well, that was my question. You go, we're
Yeah.
running out of time, that's why I want to get to the punchline.
Okay, I want to. Okay, let's disregard what I was going to say for the gross lease, and there's no way to
To track,
calculate it.
yeah.
But okay, so on net leases, the assumption we have is that let's do the same numbers: $1,000 in base rent, $300 in operating expenses, and we assume we're going to be safe. We're going to save 10%, so that's $30 in savings. Okay, so all the studies say these savings should correlate to this increase in rent premium, but this number is actually double, so it doesn't correlate as you're telling. So if 30%, $30 come from the savings in operating expenses, where these $30 come from? And that's what I mentioned before, the intangible benefits. Because of the reputation and the image out there, the developers are motivated and are able to charge more money in rent premiums. And because tenants, because now the trend is on sustainability, tenants are motivated to pay higher rent premiums.
I want you to show me the research that demonstrates that.
Yeah, I can show you that.
I want to see that.
I did tons of research. I can show you that.
I want to see it.
Okay. It's on the paper. I mean, did you read?
He's from Oklahoma.
Dropbox?
Yeah,
It says that.
I know it says that, but I want the empirical research to support it.
Okay, so Alexander Rachor, the guy that did the research paper, he did a weighted regression analysis that came from the data he obtained from CoStar, and that data came from 400 submarkets, so that's a total of a little over 4,000 office buildings with similar operating expenses and similar square feet. That's where he got the data. That's how he did the analysis, and he came out with his conclusions. So he said only half of the rent premium explains operating expenses. The other half is explained by the intangible benefits that obviously cannot be explained. Okay?
I think, can I say something?
Yeah.
I think it may be that people have this hype.
It's sexy.
Right, it's
yeah, this
sexy.
thing, yada,
You
yada.
attract,
Once that goes,
You attract a higher
Right.
tenants to your buildings. I mean, this is an office building we're doing right now in Miramar Parkway on
$30 is
145th
Brand new.
Street, and we wanted to make it a
Whole
gold certified building, but it's
Hold
so
on,
costly.
listen, guys, listen,
It's
listen.
so costly that we're just gonna have to, make it a regular certified building.
Okay, but that's,
And-
but Luis, that's exactly where I'm going with this, okay?
Yeah.
Let's assume for a second that in fact, we save 10% of operating expenses, and those 10% in operating expenses hold on, what you're telling me, this is follow the math.
Okay.
If that office building is probably gonna have operating expenses of 10 to 12 bucks a square foot, just to say something, and you're probably in a market where you're charging net probably $20. I'm giving you ballpark numbers, okay? So what you're telling me is you're gonna save your tenant $1 a square foot, and so he's gonna give you $2 a square foot more rent. So you're gonna collect $22 net, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
How much more are you spending to get those $2
Per square foot.
per square foot? So that, what's your cap rate? I mean, you just told me it's too expensive, so I want the numbers. You're doing this.
I'm gonna go.
But go, give it to Mazak, because we're
Okay, let's
leaving.
go, let's go.
We're leaving.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
We're leaving, so you gotta tell us now. Don't forget all this stuff. Answer my question, which is the punchline here.
On the cap rates,
Yeah,
or the.
and the cost. Because you're living it right now. You just told us.
Well, as you earn more points towards your certification and your initial
Tell me
investment
in
is
your
higher.
building that you're doing, you made a decision to not pursue platinum because of the, or gold because of the cost. Talk to us about that.
Okay, the certifications require a lot of work, inspections, you have to meet with green
Cost, give me
councils,
costs.
And cost is, well, is absurdly
Give me
expensive.
cost per square foot.
Cost it depends on the certification.
Okay, you were gonna shoot for gold. In
In
your building, you were gonna shoot for gold, and now you're going for standard. What's the differential?
The differential, well, we thought it was going to be only 5% per square foot, and it's actually going to be a little above that number.
But
I
how,
mean,
give me numbers.
Dollars.
okay,
Dollars.
dollars.
Yeah.
Per square foot. I don't have that information, and I don't know it because I'm not the project manager of
Okay,
that
okay,
building.
all right.
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's, okay.
But it's really expensive. That's why we don't want to go gold, and it's also hard to get because you have these inspectors coming to your building. And they say you have to cover
So that means
these.
it's not worth,
and
it's
these-
not,
Well, let him finish.
Yeah.
Let him, what, can you wrap up?
I'm gonna wrap up. Okay. So the implications. Okay, implications on lead development. Okay. There's implications.
No, wrap
Yeah.
up. I don't want,
Okay.
we can't go through the slides. We spent 30 minutes on
make
this.
sure the customers.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the. Before wrapping up.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
No, but listen, all that's telling you is between a conventional building and a sustainable building, there's 10 cents difference to the owner per square foot.
Well, if you have an energy.
That's all that tells you.
No. If you have an energy efficient building,
Yeah, there's more benefit in op expenses and they pass,
okay, we have
and they pass to the tenant.
yeah, but also the landlord benefits because now the operating expenses that he has to pay for the vacant units goes down.
Yeah, but hopefully you're 95% occupied.
This is just an example.
No, and it's the example that was in the paper. When I looked at this, I said, the tenant saves 50 cents a square foot and the landlord benefits 0.
Say that one more time.
The landlord saves 50 cents a square foot, okay? Right?
Okay.
And the sustainable building pays $1.24 as opposed to paying $1.71. And at the end of the day, the NOI to the building is the same 12 bucks a square foot. So it's like the tenant saves 50 cents and the owner gets nothing.
Why do it?
That's my question.
Well,
He makes it up fast.
what you just said is not on these charts.
Good call.
Look at the NOI at the bottom, 1266 and 1277.
Yeah, I mean, it's higher when you save money on energy. I mean, your NOI goes up as you save more money in operating expenses. This is just, I mean, I should have obtained and put a better
Should have changed the
example.
figures, man.
Okay, I'm just talking to the example you gave me.
Okay, but you see, the NOI goes a little higher. I mean, that not, I mean,
Yeah, 10 cents.
if you like,
In his favor.
what?
10 cents a square foot.
Yeah, that's money. I mean, it's hard.
Okay, yeah, it's 11,000 bucks. Okay.
This assuming the simplest certification out there that you can get.
You don't have to defend it. I like to attack this. I'm sorry I put you under the...
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
made
I didn't pick that one.
$10,000 more, but you're spending
You picked the worst one. You picked the worst one for me, so don't take it personally.
Next time, on next class, I'm gonna be putting more numbers. I mean, I'm gonna be specific with the numbers.
You gonna take this class again?
Huh?
You gonna take this over?
I'm gonna take, I mean, next semester when we teach all the classes. Yeah. So finally, on this, as the vacancy rates go up, the building value goes down. But for sustainable buildings, it goes. I mean, the building value retains more value because we assume that the landlord is saving more money on those vacant units than landlords that have conventional buildings.
Okay, wrap up, please.
Wrap up. Okay, so the conclusion is that the lead in any sustainable construction is growing at a really fast pace. Everybody wants to be here. Everybody wants to have the best tenants. The tenants want to have the best spaces with more efficient equipment and energy efficiencies. So the future is lead, and it's not gonna go down. It's just gonna go up. And as more developers, I mean, there's always a learning curve with everything. So as you have more developers doing this, there's gonna be more accurate numbers on the research papers and the studies, and the initial investment cost is gonna go down in the future, and the savings in operating expenses are gonna go up. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I tried.
No, listen, and thank you, Luis. Thank you for taking a tough topic. Hold on, turn it off. But I'm gonna wrap up. Listen, here's